My name is Itai Mutameri and I'm the founder of Baseline, and we are solving the problem of the lack of data in ASM. Accessing mining, environmental, and socioeconomic data from ASM sites is difficult and expensive for these reasons. The mines are remote, training data collectors is expensive, professional researchers are also expensive, so the data doesn't get collected very often. I analyzed the Delve database, which is my go-to resource for ASM data. And I found for the African countries, the data on the country's ASM gold sector is on average nearly half a decade old. But this data is hugely valuable for policy recommendations, for conservation organizations, markets, and entrepreneurs. Anyone who wants to make data-driven decisions on how to make the sector more sustainable. So how do we get this data? Our solution is to build a marketplace that connects all ASM stakeholders, with a focus being on helping ASM miners to purchase, rent, or hire the services and products they need. The marketplace focuses on sustainability, so if you search for diesel generators, you'll get some comparably priced solar systems as well. If miners need someone to help with their environmental management plan, well, you can find them on Baseline. You can think of it as Amazon.com for ASM miners, but instead of negatively impacting the environment, we want to help save rainforests. We build on top of local networks, and everyone on the platform is verified profile, so you can transact and interact safely. And we get network participants to share data in exchange for rewards on the platform. For instance, we ask miners to update their mine's employment profile every 2 months so we can know the demographics of the people who work there. In exchange, well, he gets a discount on his next PPE purchase, for example. And then we'll piggyback on that transaction. So when the PPE is ordered and delivered to a site, we'll ask them to share their observations with us in exchange for rewards on the platform. And that's one way we go about solving the data problem. So what does this do for biodiversity and conservation? Well, our impact focuses on 2 things: the number of miners we're able to help adopt sustainable mining solutions and data. So let's focus on the impact we're going to have on ASM gold, for example. The picture on the left is a mercury amalgamation of gold. So that is 800 grams of mercury and gold in his hands that he's about to light with a blowtorch. Most of that mercury is going right into the air, his body, and the water sources around him. On the right is the kind of equipment that we will sell. In short, it's a mobile plant that allows miners to extract their gold without using mercury. So the number of miners we're able to help make this transition is our impact, and it will grow as we grow. So hundreds next year, thousands the next, and tens of thousands the year after that. Underneath that bubble is the mercury emissions that will be prevented because the miners have made this transition. Our second impact, as I said, is around data. Again, miners submit data regularly to us in exchange for rewards. The data they supply us is then validated when they cash in those rewards. That means, for instance, we can monitor the efficacy of an intervention long after the M&E budget runs out because we have a naturally symbiotic relationship with the miners. Also, using just a credit card, conservation organizations can hire data collectors and M&E experts on the platform to visit a site. Because we're a marketplace, we take care of the legal requirements, processing payments, which is difficult in a lot of countries where ASM is prevalent. We handle dispute resolution, safety, and more. And again, we ask people to share their data. Lastly, we can take ASM from small data to big data. And that's because of the natural data that gets generated by people being on the platform. We can start to know things like how many gold miners are in this region? What are the miners buying? What are they not buying? What are their aspirations? What services are they bookmarking for the future? What is just outside of their budget? And possibly, how could we help? Millions of data points will be generated as a natural byproduct of being a digital marketplace. So the next time we're planning a conservation intervention in ASM, the planner might ask, well, which mining areas in Tanzania have the worst environmental impacts and why? Instead of anecdotes and old data, our system makes these answers a database query away. This is the competition that we're fighting against to get the attention of miners and service providers. So just to explain the charts, the costs are what you have to pay to use a platform, or in the case of physical broker, to help them put together the deal, and risks are, well, risks in the transaction. As you can see, local networks, directories, and social media are all low-cost, virtually free options, but they carry a lot of risk because you don't really know who's on the other side of the transaction. That's especially important for suppliers. Brokers, well, they're fixers. They do everything. They buy gold and ASG and they sell mercury. They'll give you short-term financing, arrange for equipment, etc. But they're expensive and they have no incentive to do anything for making the mine more sustainable. Baseline is cheaper than a broker with less risk. And for the miner, it's actually free. And once we have the miner on the platform, they're now connected to a world of opportunity that was once limited to just a broker. Next, we take a look at where the project is currently. So we already post revenue before launch because one of the miners in Zimbabwe who signed up for the platform asked us if we knew someone who could help him put together an environmental management plan, which he legally needs. So we connected them manually. The miner paid in cash, and the service provider offered to pay us for the lead, but we insisted that he keep it and asked that he invite his network to the platform. We have hundreds of miners and service providers who have already signed up to use the platform in Zimbabwe and Tanzania, and those will be our launch countries. We'll be rolling out to other countries in Africa this year. So if you're interested in having your country be next, please do get in contact. My email address is at the end of the presentation, or you can just head over to asmbaseline.com. The technology is ready, so we'll launch on September 14th. So by the time you see this, you should be able to head over to the website and log on to the platform. The next slide is around risks. So the first risk is keeping our service providers safe. We have certain security protocols that we've already developed for this, that we developed as part of our data collection efforts. The next risk is abuse by people who have access to the data. To prevent this, we will never share any identifiable information about a miner without their prior explicit consent, and all profiles on the platform are verified. Also, all users and organizations who access the data specifically will be individually vetted, and our end user agreement will include clauses that limit the scope of the use of our data. The last thing is around fraud, and there are software packages that we have deployed to help monitor this. So the team is small. It's myself and Patience, and we're going to hire a small unit of interns this month to help, and we'll start hiring a founding team in the next few months as well. My history with ASM goes back to when I was 17. I accompanied my geologist mother to a site visit in Mozambique. Since then, I've worked intermittently on ASM policy and research. I've visited more ASM sites than I can count in Zimbabwe and South Africa. I've helped with ASM research work for UNEP and the Global Environmental Facility, Conservation International as well. Most of that work has happened with me working with or for Patients. And I can and have built online marketplaces in the past, so I have experience with this model. I have a master's degree in climate change and development from the best development studies program in the world, which is the Institute of Development Studies. Patience, our advisor, is a senior mining engineer and environmental advisor at Impact, and his specialty is artisanal gold mining, particularly mercury reduction strategies, governance, and reducing environmental damage. If I had to dream up an advisor for this project, it would be him. We've known each other and worked together for quite some time, and it's been unbelievably valuable to have him as an advisor on this project. Lastly, I'll close with where our team is going. So our vision is for a data-driven and sustainable ASM sector. And what we mean by that is that anyone who wants to help make Africa's ASM sector more sustainable will have access to the data they need to make smart decisions about how, where, and when to do that. Imagine if in 2022, an analyst in Zambia is tasked with suggesting policy recommendations to help reduce mercury use in ASGM. They don't need to wait for a paper to be published to find out what is and isn't working for their neighboring countries. They can simply query our data sets. To find out what's going on in their own country, they can simply query our data sets. Our belief is that by connecting the right people to each other and to the right data, we can make major strides in making ASM a far safer and sustainable proposition. And that's a vision that we believe is worth fighting for. We hope you'll join us on this journey.